Winning 3 straight, the Cardinals come to the nation's capital in first place in the Central Division with a record of 51-46 and a makeup date tonight against the Nationals. Al Raboski, Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals baseball. May 3rd, we were supposed to play this game, and not much has changed for the Cardinals. At that point in time, they were in first place, and Al, hey, despite the losses, still in first place.
That's right. I mean, a lot of things happen over the course of a year. The Cardinals are in first place May 3rd. They're still in first place, hanging on there. But all you need to do is just put on a little winning streak, and that'll be the responsibility of Adam Wainwright tonight. He's amongst the league leaders with his 10 victories. He'd like to make it 11.
Well, the Cardinals were thinking that they would see Jordan Zimmermann tonight. That's not the case, so you'll see another one of their youngsters that's coming out of the minor leagues here this evening, and Adam Wainwright gets the start for the Cardinals. At the top of the lineup, a familiar face, Nyjer Morgan, the former Pirate, now with Washington. Baseball next. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect combination of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Auto Tire. For the lowest prices in town, we shop the competitors so you don't have to. By Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. And by the State of Missouri Tobacco Quit Line. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Cardinals still in first place with a record of 51-46. And a familiar face there, that's Jim Riggleman. He was named the interim manager of the Nationals back on July 13th. The third manager of the Nationals to join Frank Robinson and Manny Acta also. They were in that dugout. There's Tony La Russa. Long night for Tony and his club, arriving early this morning here in Washington for this makeup game. And here's a look at the lineup. Skip Schumacher at second base. Colby Rasmus, the center fielder. Mark DeRosa at first. Ryan Ludwig, the right fielder. Ricky Ankiel in left. Yadier Molina is the catcher. Joe Thurston at third base. Brendan Ryan at shortstop. And the pitcher once again for the second consecutive night, batting ninth. Colin Ballister is the Marshall Wireless starter. And that's a look at his record from last season, as it was 3-7. This will be our Domino's first pitch of the game. And Brian Knight, the home plate umpire, says, hold up.
The door is not closed to the bullpen. Cardinals are guilty this time.
It's Josh Kenny
correcting somebody else's mistake.
That's right. Skip Schumacher is hitting .303. 3 home runs, 23 RBIs, and the first pitch is fouled away at 93. Say Ballister will get it up to 93, 94 miles an hour. He's got a 12-6 curveball. And he also throws a changeup. They say the changeup is more of a hard changeup. And what they mean by that is that there's not a huge variation from his fastball to the changeup.
A lot of people believe they have that proper variation. You want to have like 11 miles an hour difference. So
slap the other way and a fair ball off the sidewall. This will be a double for Skip Schumacher. Adam Dunn will dig it out. It's 76 degrees here in our nation's capital. We did have showers again this afternoon here in Washington, but apparently the rain will stay away. Dunn, Morgan, and Josh Willingham in the outfield. Zimmermann, Guzman, Gonzalez, and Nick Johnson along the infield. Ballister and Bard is the battery tonight, and that's presented by Auto Tire. The Nationals actually have won 2 in a row, and looking for their 4th 3-game winning streak of the year.
Got 2 very well pitched games, and a shutout, and then only 1 run allowed last night.
That Mets team must be bad right now, though.
They're so banged up. But this Nationals team can give a little bit of thunder. They have a .261 team batting average, a lot of home runs in there, but pitching is always the question mark, and they have a very porous defense.
Here's a 1-0 pitch, pulled foul by Rasmus. Talked with Colby today about when he was in high school. I said, you have a pretty good arm. I said, you ever pitch? He said, absolutely. He said, I was the closer for my high school team, and I threw 95 miles an hour. And he said the Yankees actually wanted to draft him 13th overall as a pitcher. But he made sure that word got out that he wanted to be a position player. And he has done quite well here in his rookie season with 11 home runs and 34 RBIs. On deck, it's DeRosa. And no Albert Pujols, but don't look into that. Tony La Russa is saying before the game he's just looking to give him a rest.
Right. I mean, he's just been You go back to the Chicago series, particularly the Sunday night doubleheader, and all the commitments that he had during the All-Star break, and you go right back under the gun, and he just kind of needs a little breather right now. And you don't want to do it going into Philadelphia. You got 2 first-place clubs.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. You just get so accustomed to seeing Pujols in that 3rd spot. You know, he doesn't miss games. He hates to be taken out of the lineup, but at times he will acquiesce to Tony La Russa. And Tony, for the most part, has really handled those off days throughout his 9-year career very well.
And I think the last time, I'm not sure it's the last time he had off, but the last time I know he had a game off was here against Washington.
This is hit into left center field. Adam Dunn under it, makes the catch and drops it.
It's a catch.
It is a catch. Schumacher tags up from 2nd to 3rd. So the catch is made, but the transition from the glove to the throw was dropped by Dunn, and Schumacher heads up, takes 3rd base.
Well, like I said, porous defense, and that will have to be an error to allow him to go from 2nd to 3rd. And if it is a charged error, there's the catch. He reaches in, so constitutes a catch. And he was pretty flat-footed on that play. Here he doesn't really hustle. He knows it's going to be a double. It wasn't going to change, but that would be Adam Dunn's 11th error, and they haven't charged one yet, which they should.
Where will Adam Dunn wind up before it's all said and done?
Well, there's some talk that the Cardinals may have a trading partner with Washington. Dunn, not only Adam Dunn's name being bandied about.
Here's a little check swing by DeRosa. He's going to pick up an RBI. He'll take that as Schumacher scores, and it's 1-0 St. Louis. A check swing, put it in play, and DeRosa picks up the RBI.
When's the last time we did a Mike James reference on the Cardinal broadcast? But where's Mike James when you need him? Because this is a surfer dude out there. Alistair, not only from Huntington Beach, California, and a surfer, his dad has a surfboard company. And I'm sure that is very well acquainted with the former Cardinal reliever, Mike James.
Mike James. Wow. Here's Ludwig. So Schumacher scores the 1st run of the game. I'm sure it wasn't easy for Tony La Russa to sit Pujols at this ballpark, too. Albert is 6 for 12 at Nationals Park with 4 extra base hits.
But I think in fairness that if the Cardinals cannot beat the worst team in the National League and arguably the worst team in baseball without Albert, then this team is not going to be as good as we think they are.
As Tony always says, you turn the page. Win or lose that series, you turn the page, and there is no other way to say it. Last night was one of the tougher losses of the season so far for the Cardinals. And a 1-0 lead for Adam Wainwright.
I go back to last season where this team sustained some of the ugliest, toughest losses, but always bounced back, so I don't think it's going to be a problem for him here tonight.
And Tony last year saw his team blow a major league worst 31 save opportunities a year ago. You see, this guy's got a little life with that fastball, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's just turned 23. He's been a top prospect the last several years, and as you said, he got rushed to the big leagues last year. Wasn't quite ready, but started in AAA, trying to still work things out.
And a strikeout of Ludwig. So Wainwright goes to work when we come back, and he has a 1-0 lead here on Fox Sports Midwest.
In $1.49 a gallon today.
Jim Riggleman, 10th season as a manager in the big leagues. He's been with San Diego, the Cubs, Seattle, now Washington. And his club trails by the score of 1-0 as Adam Wainwright goes to work. And here's the former Pirate, Nyjer Morgan. And Nyjer takes a ball, and the numbers for Wainwright presented by Marshall Wireless. A record of 10-6. His last time out was against the Diamondbacks, and really a tough luck loss as he pitched well in that game. Out to left field, Rick Ankiel is there to make the catch. And let's meet the Nationals lineup. Nyjer Morgan, the center fielder. Christian Guzman hitting .290. back-to-back seasons that he's hit above 300 last 2 years. Then Zimmermann and Dunn, Johnson, Willingham, Gonzalez, Bard, and Ballister.
Guzman's really struggling. He's 0 for his last 19, 116 batting average over his last 18. He hit really well at the leadoff spot. Then he started struggling. They moved him down to the 6th hole. That is 143 there. And recently it promoted him back to the 2 hole, and he's batting about 360. But with that 0 for 19, his average has fallen under 300.
That pitch taken inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Christian Guzman, 6 years in Minnesota, 3rd with Washington now. For a while he was a threat to steal. At one point he had over 30 steals in a season. But for whatever reason, as you mentioned, that 6th spot in the lineup he has struggled. So he moves up to 2.
And when he first came up with Minnesota, he was just a triples machine.
And a swing and a miss, a strikeout for Adam Wainwright. St. Louis native Mark Burhle made Major League Baseball history today. Barry LeBrock and the gang have more.
Hey, Barry LeBrock with the final score update. White Sox, Mark Burhle, 3 outs away from a perfect game against the Rays. Look at the catch by Dwayne Wise, robbing Gabe Kapler there in the 9th. 2 outs to go. Here's the final one. Mark Burhle, a perfect game as the White Sox beat the Rays 5-0.
Not a bad career, huh? World Series champion. Now he's throwing his 2nd no-hitter, and this one a perfect game.
Perfect game. Got a chance to see the final inning of that great catch out in center field, take a home run away, and juggling act preserves that perfect game, but give Mark Burhle all the credit.
Unbelievable catch, like you said. Then the 2nd hitter went to 3-1, and on a 3-2 pitch with a perfect game on the line, he throws a changeup. Typical Mark Burhle.
Well, that could be his best pitch, and he had a good one today.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Zimmermann. Good player here. Tap to the left side. Thurston makes the play to DeRosa. Nice pick on the backhand. Ankiel leads it off when we come back. Last 5 perfect games in Major League Baseball history. Add Mark Burley's name to that list. Randy Johnson, David Cone, and David Wells. They both did it with the Yankees, and Kenny Rogers back in '94 with Texas. What a great accomplishment, and congratulations to Mark Burhle.
All the lefties on that.
Yeah.
4 of the 5 are left-handed. Only Cone goes from the right side, and normally you think of no-hitters in April and September. Those perfect games, May and July.
And you say that because when the season first gets going, the timing is off a little bit. A lot of people believe that the pitchers are ahead of the hitters, and then in September you have those call-ups, so you get the matchups that favor the guys that have been around a while, the major leaguers, as opposed to the minor leaguers. Rick Ankiel, 1 ball, 1 strike. So May 3rd, this makeup game, the Cardinals a 4-game lead at that point. And now it's down to a 1-game lead as Ankiel drills it into deep right field. Will it leave the ballpark? And it's gone. Boy, did he need that. Rick Ankiel, his 6th home run. He is showing signs of starting to get out of this.
Yes, he is. And they've been baby steps, but that is a big one. As you get that first home run in a long time, the 6th of the season, doubles the Cardinals lead to 2-0. And as you said, Rick needed this. Fastball that's down. He's got to get ready for that fastball because it's been exploited by the fastball up and also by the changeups. And you know, you can just look at his reaction and his teammates that, you know, he feels like he can build and get some momentum off of that one drive.
First home run since we were in Kansas City. And that's line foul the opposite way. So Rick Ankiel, his 6th home run and his 23rd RBI.
Well, it's not only that, Dan, but I mean, I would think that there was a pretty good gap between the one before that. So it's been a while since he's hit 2 or 3 of them.
Cardinals have lost 3 in a row. They have had only 1 longer losing streak this year. It's at 5 games. A lot of talk about the possibility of Adam Dunn coming to St. Louis or even Matt Holliday.
Oh, and I've even heard the name Josh Willingham, who's playing out in right field for the Nationals. There's Adam Dunn, who committed his 11th error, and there's Josh Willingham, who's really been swinging the bat very well. He went 4 for 4 on Wednesday. He's hit .366 in his last 82 games.
In your experience, you hear so much about the prospects, and the name that is always going to come up right now with the Cardinals is Brett Wallace. And the question, if you're John Mozeliak, are you willing to deal Brett Wallace? That's the one guy that always comes up. And do you take a proven talent at this level for the potential of what you think could be a great talent down the road?
I would have to say yes, and that's with a disclaimer because we've never seen him play. But I wouldn't necessarily include a Kobe Rasmus, but I think Wallace I'd have to consider.
Down the left field line and foul. And the other thing too, Al, you only get so many shots at it. Then you have to rebuild. The Cardinals are in one of the great runs in franchise history, and not many teams have enjoyed this type of run unless they spend $200 million, and the Cardinals aren't going to do that.
And we have heard good reports on Wallace as a third baseman, where that is probably a big question mark. Does he have a defensive position? I don't think anybody questions whether he's going to hit. But will he be able to be a National Leaguer without the DH? And like I said, we've had some people say that with a lot of hard work, and he's willing to put that time in, that he could do so.
Hit to Zimmermann. That's a fair ball. Across the diamond to Nick Johnson. If you're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv. Catch over 100 live out-of-market games per week. For complete details, visit STLCardinals.com, where baseball is always on. I talked to Joe Thurston about the potential double play last night that he passed up for a play at the plate. Now, if he would have gone to second base, there was the potential of the double play. There was also the potential of a close play at first in which the call goes against the Cardinals and the game is over. And Joe was telling me that because of the bobble, he said he had a slight problem fielding it cleanly. He said once that happened, it made my split second decision easy. I'm going home because the game's on the line. And that's why he did it.
And it's a very difficult, but he was very much aware of the double play until the slip.
There's Julio Lugo, the newest face in that Cardinals dugout. Heard from him in the pregame show from the Dominican Republic. He's 33 years of age.
Always was noted, even in his prime, that he was a better offensive player than defensive player.
And a swing and a miss by Thurston. Second strikeout. Talked to Ryan Franklin. I said, you got some ground balls last night. It wasn't that bad. He said, it wasn't. He said, I thought the first base hit, I made a pretty good pitch. When Pudge got on, I thought, uh-oh. He said, I haven't blown many this year. And he said, this is the one part of the job that I don't know if you ever get used to, blowing a save and blowing a game. He said, you feel awful, but hey, I've been around. You just turn the page and you got to regroup.
Well, it's his second blown save, and the other one is tolerable because the team won. But the worst thing for a closer is to come in a save situation and walk off with a walk-off loss.
And Franklin only his second blown save this year, after 31 blown saves by the Cardinals last year. This season, the Cardinals as a team, they've blown 8. Only Oakland, Texas, and Cincinnati have fewer.
And Dan, I think we all would say that if he blows 2 more the rest of the season, what a wonderful season he's had as the closer, and the Cardinals will benefit greatly.
And as he said, he said, I love this pressure spot that I'm in, though. It's been so much fun for me to be the closer. I don't look over my shoulder anymore. I wanted to make sure I had my respect paid to Jason Isringhausen in years past, but the job is his, and everybody knows it.
And it made perfect sense to me that he was very comfortable and did the job last year until Izzy came back.
Into center field. Morgan is there on a hard hit ball off the bat of Brendan Ryan. A home run by Rick Ankiel, his 6th of the season, and the Cardinals have a 2-0 lead. Keys to the game presented by Toyota. Adam Wainwright, 4+ runs of support. The record is 9-1, 3 or less, 1-5. But when he's 1-5 and 3 or less, he pitches very well. His opponents only hit .209 against him.
Well, it's been a little bit of an odd season for him because Adam has pitched better at home and few wins to show for it. 3 wins and 5 decisions with an ERA under 240, but 7-1 on the road with an ERA pushing 4. And lately, he's not gotten much run support, but he hasn't needed it with an ERA of 2.44 in his last 12 starts.
So here's Dunn, 24 homers, 65 RBIs. Draws a lot of walks, strikes out a bunch, but on-base percentage of an even .400. But at the end of the season, as long as he stays healthy, he's around 35, 40 home runs.
Well, he puts fear in the opposition. You know, if you make good pitches, you will get him out, and many times you'll strike him out. But if you make a mistake, more times than not, he will make you pay with the long ball.
And a 1-1 pitch to Dunn. Slicing, shift was on, and a base hit. Adam Dunn with a leadoff hit. That's how we start play here in the bottom of the second. The auto-tired defense, Ankiel, Rasmussen, Ludwig, Thurston, Ryan, Schumacher, and Mark DeRosa. Battery tonight, Wainwright and Molina. Remember in his last start against the Diamondbacks, he gave up a bloop single RBI and then that home run to Montero. The difference in the game. 10-6 overall. ERA is just over 3. Hasn't faced Washington this year. And his last 5 starts, he has been just tremendous. 7 earned runs, nearly 40 innings pitched with a 1.60 ERA.
The starting pitching for the Cardinals have been very good, and so is the bullpen. But we've hit another one of these little offensive droughts where there's no margin for error for the pitching staff.
DeRosa, that's right, Mark DeRosa holding over at first. Hopefully you enjoyed our conversation with him in the pregame show. There's not a lot that messes him up. You know, I mean, you put him at second, he's fine. Over at third, he's fine. He plays first. He said, after our interview, I asked him even more about playing first base, and he said it's no big deal. You know what you're supposed to do if you played this game long enough. And he said, I played plenty.
Make sure you got all the gloves.
That's right. You got to come prepared with the leather. I really like what I've seen, though, from him.
Well, not only have we liked what we've seen, and even when he was struggling, you know, you knew he was a presence in that clubhouse. It was very difficult to not be impressed with him as a person, and we know the caliber of player he is. But I mean, he's even better of a teammate and player than what I thought he would be, and I was fully endorsing that deal.
Just inside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pretty bright guy too over at first base, isn't he?
You know, I got a sister-in-law that got an MBA at Wharton, so I don't know.
That's where Mark studied. He went to Penn, Wharton School of Business. A short lead at first by Dunn. The 2-2. Ground ball left side. Thurston out at second, and the double play. Thurston, Schumacher, and DeRosa. Talked to Skip before the game, Al, down in the dugout, and of course the conversation again led to playing defense at second base, and he said, you know, I'm really starting to like this. I'm getting comfortable there. It's not something that's tearing me up mentally anymore, and I enjoy it.
I think he likes the idea that he's playing every day, and he's doing a fine job. You know, he's got 7 errors on the season, 5 of those at second base. And you just look at some of these other guys that are noted more as defensive players that have more errors than he has committed. Here you see the numbers on Willingham, and that's a guy that I've heard that the Cardinals are showing some interest in too.
If you're Washington, you know, where do you start? How do you figure this thing out to start to rebuild? Now they're drafting obviously with Steven Strasburg. That's a major story. You build through the draft, but how many guys do you allow to be traded to keep retooling and restocking the prospects? Willingham's not an old guy. It's a big question for them. How do you
he's
do it?
30.
But
But he's not old, and you got to have a few veteran guys.
And that's my point.
To tutor, the Zimmermans, who's only 24.
And that basically is my point, Al. I mean, you still have to have guys that can play every day and be productive like a Willingham, but have been around a little bit to help lead the young guys that come through your minor league system.
Yeah, and he has 13 home runs and has played in just 71 games.
Well, Strasburg is represented by Scott Boras, and Boras has said it's going to take $40 to $50 million to bring him in and get him at the Nationals. Nationals publicly are not making any comments, which is probably the right thing to do.
Well, I think that they're waiting for a reasonable, demand.
And a walk.
50 is not reasonable.
I'm sure they would go well above and beyond previous #1 picks, but 40 to 50 for a guy that has not played a minute of Major League Baseball is ridiculous.
And when we were here in May, I talked to Stan Kasten, the president of their ball club, and he basically told me that in their mind, even if they were to pay, and he is, an exception, an exceptional athlete, and he is a college player, but if they were to meet those demands, they said, in their mind, they feel that he would be public enemy #1 in his own clubhouse.
You played this game a long time. I mean, how would that kid making that kind of money be received? Pretty tough.
Well, you look at football. Some of these signings guys get. You got a lineman that's been there for 10, 15 years, and he sees a #1 pick, hadn't played one down, getting all this money. When you get those one-on-one drills, they kind of make him pay for it.
Sure. There's a slotting system that Major League Baseball would love to see teams adhere to, but some do, some don't. And what we mean by that is particular draft picks and where they're picked receive X amount of dollars, looking at the total pie and what folks made at that previous level, 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, those kind of things.
And it's not collusion because not everyone follows that game plan, but it's more of a suggestion. And the Cardinals are finding that same situation where their #1 draft pick, Shelby Miller.
With baseball, lower market teams are saying let's institute that. Let's make sure that becomes a part of the game so we don't lose a Steven Strasburg.
Play a fastball away.
Off the glove of Wainwright. Schumacher is there, and Gonzalez retired. Adam leads it off when we come back. It's 2-0 St. Louis after 2. Each night on the Toyota Cardinals Live pregame show, we're looking back at the Tony La Russa era by counting down 50 of the finest Cardinals moments under La Russa in the regular season. So tune into Toyota Cardinals Live before every game on Fox Sports Midwest. And join Fox Sports Midwest on Facebook to tell us what you think, what plays should be on the list. And apparently in the pregame show tonight, as Wainwright looks at a strike, it was the 20-inning affair on a Sunday afternoon down in Florida.
April 27th, what was it? Vina was 0 for 9 and got the game-winning hit.
That's right. Wainwright reaches for it. Nice play by Zimmermann to cut it off. He's a heck of a player. He's from Virginia, drafted out of Virginia, and comes here to Washington, and he's one of the top young players in baseball and an all-star this year.
He's committed 13 errors, but I talked to Pat Corrales, who is now the bench coach for Jim Riggleman, and he said he has the best hands of any third baseman in the National League.
It's high praise.
Young player, and he is the guy you build this around. But
here's Schumacher. Going back to Strasburg just for a moment, there's Pat Corrales, as he was with the Braves for a number of years, and Bobby Cox. But Washington is going to have, there's a base hit into left center field. Schumacher thinking 2, testing Morgan into second, safe. He has 2 doubles tonight.
When Schumacher usually gets a start like this, you're going to see another multi-hit game. Oh, we've already seen that, but I mean a 3-hit or more game for him. He leads the club with 11 3-hit games. He's off to a good start with 2 doubles in his first 2 plate appearances. Nigel Morgan, he's got to turn all the way, spin and throw, so he doesn't have that real strong arm. It took the extra relay, and that's the difference between safe and out.
Just to finish that thought, as Rasmus looks at a strike, Washington is 28-66 at the start of play tonight. Barring a miracle, they'll be the worst team in baseball.
Well, they'll get the number one pick next year.
Right.
And when I talked to Stan Kasten, you know, at the time they did not sign their number 1 pick from a year ago. And he goes, we don't worry about Strasburg if we draft him, because if we don't sign him, we'll get the number 1 from next season, plus we get compensation for not signing the number 1 pick, so they'd have the first 2 picks in the draft a year from now. Now they obviously want to sign him, but it has to be at a reasonable demand.
Sure. 0-2. Up and into Rasmus.
And Dan, I can't conceive of any team in baseball giving him $40 to $50 million, let alone a franchise that is struggling with attendance. And when you talk to people around here, the fan base say, hey, we don't want him if that's the price tag.
And that's interesting, as Colby hits it to first. Nick Johnson beats him to the bag, and it brings in DeRosa, because some fans would say, the flip side of that, what are you doing to win? What kind of product are you putting out on the field? And if you can get the best pitcher and the best prospect that some say has ever been around, how can you not sign him?
Well, we've seen a lot of guys that were so highly touted but never materialize, and Rasmus does his job to get Schumacher over to third base with just 2 outs. But DeRosa, the way he's swinging the bat, you'll take your chances right now.
I'll be interested to see if the Cardinals approach DeRosa before he hits free agency.
That's one of the aspects of this trade that we really haven't talked about, but in my mind, I mean, I think that, you know, here's a guy, if you want to be a perennial winner and his versatility, you've got to think about signing him after his season is up.
And a fly ball to right, and Willingham puts it away. Josh Bard to lead it off. When we come back, it's 2-0. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By the Casino Queen Hotel and Casino, home of the loosest slots. And by McDonald's. Better set your alarm. Sausage burritos are just $1.19 only at McDonald's. Little rain this afternoon. And this is Bard, and a pitch that's up from Adam Wainwright.
Switch hitter, batting .263 from the left side, .250 right-handed.
Tails in, and a ball. Wainwright, Al, is there any doubt that he's been throwing that fastball even more lately, and it's meant success for him?
It's strange that at the beginning of the season he just was.
That's a base hit to right.
He's reluctant to throw that pitch, and everything sets up off the fastball.
So a little rain earlier today, and this is a makeup from early May. Watch out, here it comes.
I mean, look at how quick that rain came in.
You see the sunshine in the outfield.
And they didn't really had no time to cover the field other than home plate and the pitcher's mound, and it was gone. Never got the tarp out.
A bunt situation here. Wainwright can go to second, out there. Boy, Bard very slow getting out the bag at first base. You agree?
Absolutely. I was almost shocked.
I think Wainwright was too.
And you got to give Molina credit, because there's no way with that play being so slow developing that he's going to go to 2 without his catcher telling him that play's behind him.
Next half price night coming up Monday against the Dodgers and Manny Ramirez, and fans can purchase terrace and pavilion reserve seats for half price. So what does that mean? It means tickets as low as $8, and also Think about it this way. A family of 4 can go to the ballpark on Monday night against the Dodgers for $30. So get your tickets at stlcardinals.com. Mom and dad, their ticket $8 a piece, and the kids at $7. Kids tickets all season long at $7. That's past Thurston. He was playing in, and a base hit for Morgan.
Back to Manny for a minute. He was Manny's bobblehead last night at Dodger Stadium, and fans got there. They were disappointed, didn't get to see their favorite. But I think later on in that ball game, he atoned for it. They all went home happy.
Pinch hit grand slam for Manny Ramirez, and the reason he didn't start because the night before he was hit on the hand by a pitch. So Joe Torre had him come off the bench. Now that's 21 grand slams for Manny Ramirez, and he's 2 shy of Lou Gehrig for most all time. How about that?
Day when Carlos Lee hit his 14th and got your attention, but 21.
So Manny Ramirez and the Dodgers in town, and that will be the first of 4 on Monday night. And it's an early start time as well Monday, just after 6:10.
One of our favorite announcers,
Vin Scully.
Well, he had a great call, but I was thinking of somebody else when Don Mattingly set the major league record for 6 grand slams in one season, which, by the way, Albert has 4. His favorite announcer I said, and just think, folks, each and every one of them came with the bases loaded.
That's pulled foul. Well, Vin Scully last night on their telecast, the long time voice of the Dodgers. For so many years, Major League Baseball said it was the loudest he had heard Dodger Stadium in over 20 years. Now that's a statement when he says something like that.
Usually pay attention when Mr. Scully says anything, but to make a statement like that, and he's not one that exaggerates. They love him out there. And he hit it in Manny land, right?
Yes, he did.
Talk about Guzman, as pitchers have had their way with Guzman. He's 0 for his last 20. And wouldn't mind a double play right now. He's hit into 5.
One ball and 2 strikes. And he got him. Guzman was frozen by the pitch, and that's strikeout number 2 here for Adam Wainwright.
Backdoor breaking ball just freezes him. Designed for a hitter to give up on it like he did, and then it breaks over the plate.
I don't know if you're like me, but every time I see one of those, I just can't stop thinking about the Beltran at bat in 06. But he has a great 12-6 curveball working like he does.
Well, he didn't have the consistency, and I think he just kind of felt like he didn't have his good stuff early. And we touched on it, a little bit reluctant to throw the fastball, and because you feel like you're going to war without your rifle or no ammunition, he was reluctant to throw that. Then his breaking ball is getting underneath it, kind of spinning it. But of late, he has really got that fastball working on both sides of the plate. The down 12-6 curveball. Changeup has become an improved weapon for him, and he's going deeper and deeper into games. What is it, 18 straight starts where he's got at least 6 innings?
In the last 5 starts, as we talked about, only 7 earned runs allowed. And you think about the little things that help you win games, and Washington has not done that this year. If they get the sacrifice down, they put a run up on the board after the base hit.
There's a reason why teams win. You know, it's execution of the little things. They often don't beat themselves, but they take advantage of other teams' mistakes, or they go out there and play fundamental baseball.
See a little rain now falling here at the ballpark, and the grounds crew is right by the tarp. 1-2 pitch. High, 2-2.
Zimmermann, top draft pick, and he's one of those guys that did it the right way. You know, get signed, got to the big leagues within that first year, and that's where you make your money, playing in the big leagues.
It's never a good sign when the grounds crew is the starter's blocks ready to push that out.
Not a good sign when you see lightning off in the distance either.
And the count runs full here on Zimmermann. Look at that shot there. You see the dark clouds overhead.
It's just one big cloud out there, and now the thunder. They're scrambling, putting the tarp on the Cardinals bullpen out in the left center. 3-2 pitch.
Runners go, and a fly ball out to left. Ankiel is here and puts it away. And Ludwig due up first when we return. 2-0 St. Louis as we move to the top of the fourth here at Nationals Park. I want to remind you that August 2nd is the Build-A-Bear Workshop Day at Busch Stadium. 12,000 kids ages 12 and under with a paid admission get a very limited edition Cardinals pup. For tickets, call 345-9500 or visit stlcardinals.com. And that's coming up on August 2nd when Houston will be in town. Rain is picked up here at Nationals Park. It's also a family Sunday and an ice cream Sunday as well. August 2nd, the Build-A-Bear Workshop Day at Busch Stadium.
Rain starting to pick up, and it's really not the big cloud in front of us, it's the rain behind us.
Oh, watch out. 2 balls, no strikes. Ludwig struck out looking his first time up. Ballestar has struck out 2.
Dana DeMuth, you can see he's not happy with what he's about to do, and that's the possibility of halting play. 70% chance of rain, but it's scattered, and it's scattered right here and right now.
A 3-1 pitch and ball 4. And will this be it here?
Well, that doesn't help when the pitcher's struggling,
exactly,
trying to throw strikes, and that's going to be it.
Yep. So we will have a rain delay presented by the good folks at Helitech. A Helitech rain delay. And we'll step aside. Back with more in just a moment as the Helitech rain delay is here. 2-0 Cardinals. Nothing. It's a Helitech rain delay here in Washington and the Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. And they'll continue to work on the field here as the Cardinals have themselves a 2-0 lead. And so, Al, at this point, the question becomes, can you stick with your starters for both sides?
Well, rain delay started at 7:56, and you can see they do not have their starter back out there, but he's a young pitcher, 23 years of age. They're going with Clippard, Tyler Clippard, a right-hander. And I don't know if we've ever seen him, have we?
No, he struck out 5 in 3 hitless innings Monday against the Mets and posted his first big lead hold in a loss at Florida on June 30th. Recalled on June 24th. Their AAA affiliate for Jim Riggleman and the Nationals is in Syracuse. And he had 24 appearances. He was 4-1 with 1 save down there and a very good ERA, .92. And he was acquired from the Yankees back in December of 07. He did make 2 spot starts for Washington in 08. So this will be his 10th appearance. And he'll take over for their starter. Let's take a look at our GMC quote of the day. I'm not going to buy my kids an encyclopedia. Let them walk to school like I did. A Yogiism from the Hall of Famer Yogi Berra. Grew up on the hill in St. Louis, Elizabeth Avenue. He and Joe Garagiola growing up together.
Don't slight Mickey.
Don't slight Mickey is right. We hope he's doing great.
Yeah, Mickey Garagiola still living on the hill, and we hope Joe's doing better. He had some health issues, had been traveling with the Diamondbacks this year, and hopefully he will get back in the booth soon.
It ain't over till it's over. The Yogiism.
90% of all short putts don't go in.
In the endless list of Yogi sayings through the years. Here's Rick Ankiel. He is homered tonight. He was back in the second inning. And the first pitch, a fastball and a strike. Well, no activity right now for the Cardinals in the bullpen. The tarp is on the field now. At this new ballpark, there is, away from the dugouts, they do have a full batting cage. So if somebody's getting loose, they could easily have done that behind the dugout and under the seats of Nationals Park.
Knowing Wainwright, I know it'd be his thought process that he wants to go back out, and you're right, he could warm up with that mound there, and he looks like he's wants to go back out there.
Delay of 1 hour and 16 minutes. No balls, 2 strikes. Ludwig the runner at first following a walk. And Ankiel fouls it back. Let's hope that this is the start of something good for Rick Ankiel. Getting a little bit healthier, maybe that shoulder a little bit stronger, and he can produce at a little better clip.
Got off to a good start with a home run. Had a couple hits on Monday, including his first extra base hit in about almost a month. And he gets the home run tonight, so starting to see him drive the ball.
Be interesting to see a base hit to right or anything in that shallow right field area, the footing of the right fielder, because that's where they dump the water off the tarp, and it looks sloppy even from up here. 3 hits aside, 2-0 Cardinals. And Ankiel strikes out. First strikeout for Clippard, and the first man that he sees tonight. Here's Molina, who grounded out to third. Now Jordan Zimmermann was to make the start tonight. He's out with a sore elbow. His record stands at 3-5. We saw him in the previous series in May against Washington. He is going to be very, very tough before it's all said and done.
Well, Zimmermann and a couple of their young pitchers, they were going to keep them to a 150, 160 innings pitched. And I think Jim Riggleman and sound judgment played out. It's like, well, if you have a little tenderness in your elbow and we're going to limit your pitches or innings for the season, why don't we take care of it right now, and then hopefully maybe you can come back and finish the season with that 160 inning workload.
Jim was saying before the game, it's a situation where he described it as being ultra conservative. You know, if this is a team in contention and heading down the stretch, yeah, we would pitch him, but there is no need when we're 28-66 if he's got a little bit of a achy elbow to have him throw this season. So as you mentioned, they'd love to see him get around 150, 160 innings this year, and he's at 91 1/3 coming into play tonight. The 2-0 pitch. Molina, center field, and that drops in for a hit. Ludwig stops at second base, first and second with 1 out. Cardinal fans, when it comes to tickets, you deserve Major League service, so go online to StubHub. It's the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals and the only site with Fan Protect guarantee. Base hit for Molina, and it brings in Joe Thurston. Just joining us because of the early start. We're in the 4th inning, 1 out, runners at first and second, and Albert Pujols is not in the lineup tonight.
Just a day off. Just trying to get him ready for the crucial series that starts tomorrow in Philadelphia, and then come home against tough opponents like the Dodgers and Houston again.
Thurston down the right field line. That's a fair ball. Just inside the line, if not off it. And Ludwig scores. Molina held up. A double for Thurston. 3-0 Cardinals. It's one thing he has done all this season. The doubles for Joe Thurston.
He leads the team in home runs also, but Thurston, that's his 15th double. He drives in his 24th run, and just a game of inches as it just inside the line, only by a matter of inches, down in that corner where you say it's very treacherous. Though you saw the tipping toeing by Willingham down in the right field corner.
Here's Brendan Ryan with runners at second and third, and the pitcher on deck, that's Wainwright. 1 out here. They'll pitch around Brendan and load him up for Adam. Playing with fire, really, in a situation like this, especially with a guy like Wainwright who can handle the bat. If you're Tony La Russa, let me ask you this. Would you think about it? Albert Pujols right here. Because
I understand exactly what you're saying. A win's a win.
Win's a win, and you're bringing Wainwright back off the rain delay, and there's nowhere to put Albert Pujols.
No, without this scenario that you're thinking, I would never even entertain it. But because there was an hour and 16-minute rain delay.
That's what my thought process is too.
And you really don't think that he's going to go much more than an inning or so. It's worthy of a thought.
Saturday afternoons made for baseball. This week Fox brings you the national game of the week. Albert and the Cardinals take on the Phillies. White Sox, Tigers, Twins, Angels. Fox Saturday baseball this week at 3 Central, only on Fox. Inning started with a walk to Ludwig. Strikeout of Ankiel. Base hit by Molina. Thurston the RBI double. Intentional walk to Brendan Ryan. Wainwright right on the pitch and fouls it back.
This is what I would do, is have Wainwright hit for himself. But I think under the scenario, and if it's not, Carpenter, Wainwright, maybe even Pinheiro or something like that, I think it's something that you've got to think about to try and break it open early. A lot of game left.
A 3-0 lead right now. And Wainwright pops it up. Foul territory, Zimmermann, 2 away. And like you said, you just don't know how deep you can go into the game with Adam, even though his pitch counts have been high. But he wants to win. And if he asked him, he says, I want to stay in the game.
Yeah, that's, he's a winning player. He's not going to beg out, and just say, hey, I pitched well. I had 3 shutout innings, but, I don't qualify for the win. He wants that win, and he wants to help his team win. You are carrying 13 pitchers, but you have, you're going into an explosive ballpark starting tomorrow.
Looking forward to it. The Phillies have been baseball's hottest team, best team in July, and currently they lead San Diego by the score of 8-3. That's a good team. Utley and Howard, Rollins, the fine pitching that they have. Cole Hamels made the start tonight, so we will not see him in the series this weekend. Raul Ibanez, very good team. Shane Victorino, Pedro Feliz, the list goes on and on. And Brad Lidge at the end of games.
And the 3 starters that we're going to see from Philadelphia have a combined 15-4 record. Starting tomorrow with J.A. Happ, who's 7-0 and a 2.68 ERA. Lopez is 2-0, 2.6. And Blanton, and you know how good he is, he's 6-4 with an ERA of 4.25.
Yeah, he's really pitched well. He was picked up at the trade deadline from Oakland last year, pitched against the Cardinals, was terrific. And then in a start earlier this year at Busch Stadium, did it again. Inside, and for the 3rd time, Schumacher is aboard. That's a run, and it's 4-0 St. Louis. Now, one of the things, too, if you're Jim Riggleman, you're thinking no matter if you're a veteran or a younger guy, you can throw strikes if you load the bases intentionally, which is what happened here.
No excuse for a guy not throwing strikes if there's nothing physically wrong. It's just a matter of concentration.
Here's Colby Rasmus, bases loaded. In the air to center. Nyjer Morgan under it. Makes the catch. 1 hour and 16 minutes. The rain delay. The Cardinals, though, pick up 2 more, and it's 4-0. Everything you knew about fantasy football is about to change. Introducing the all-new Fox Fantasy Football. It's a new way to play. Log on to foxsports.com on MSN and join the next generation of fantasy football. Ice cream here at Nationals Park for those that have stuck around. And the first pitch taken upstairs by Dunn. 4-0 Cardinals. Adam Dunn singled his first time up.
So in 6 straight games, almost 400.
And that's inside. 2 balls, no strikes. He signed a 2-year deal here with the Washington Nationals, so whoever would pick him up would be on the hook for the remainder of this season and next year. Holiday, that's a different story. He's a free agent after the year.
And Adam was a late signing. Got invited to the World Baseball and played well there for the U.S. team, and seemed like it was a natural for him to come here with this team that is so heavily laden with ex-Reds.
It was Jim Bowden. And
yeah.
Jim Bowden no longer here. 2-2. Nick Johnson on deck, and then Josh Willingham. Fun time of year, though, for anybody that follows the game of baseball or any sport. When you get near that trade deadline, you hear all the rumors and what may happen. That's hard hit and a base hit. They had the shift on. I'm not sure the players enjoy it, but I know the fans do.
Right.
And this game is about the fans.
Players' livelihoods, names get leaked out, feelings get hurt. But as a player, you always got to look at it that it's not maybe so much that my team's trying to get rid of me, as somebody wants me more than my current team.
Niger Morgan said that when he was traded from Pittsburgh.
It's just part of the business, and many times you go into a better situation.
Nick Johnson has been injury plagued in his career, unfortunately, because he's a good player. Hitting .304, 6 home runs. He's driven in 40. You see the very good on base percentage. He will work a count and does not mind hitting with 2 strikes. In the air, long way to go. Ankiel makes the catch. Dunn back to first. The wild card right now in the National League, Colorado, and if the season ended today, would be in the playoffs, but they may not have Manny Corpus for the remainder of the season. He's having elbow surgery, some chips to be removed, and they're hoping they can get Corpus back by September, but
and that's not,
may or may not happen.
Yeah, may or may not happen, but it is not a stretch to say that he will not be back, and with normal rehab, and he could come back there at middle to late September.
Cardinals have not been concerned with the pitch counts as much with Wainwright as some of the others, and it was interesting that Dave Duncan told Jim Hayes the other night, with Wainwright we follow how he warms up, and the amount of pitches before the game and even sometimes between innings, but in particular before a game, they say it only takes him about 15 or 20 pitches to get loose and he's ready to go.
The example is that is, he never went out to the bullpen. No need, if you're only going to do 10, 15, 20 pitches, to go to the bullpen. You can do that underneath in the batting cage.
Time called late and granted here for Josh Willingham.
And that, it's also, he's a big, strong guy, where he's a good athlete, so it doesn't take a toll on his body. He doesn't labor as much as some other guys.
1 ball, 1 strike, and a lead at first by Dunn. Cardinals have turned a double play tonight. 5-4-3 off the bat of Nick Johnson in the 2nd inning. The road, Adam Wainwright is 7-1 with a 3.82 ERA, but 7-1 away from Busch Stadium.
And he's got a much better, about a 1.5 lower ERA at home, with what, 3 wins.
A strikeout there, his 3rd of the night.
Little breaking ball out away from him, gets him a chase.
Great history of baseball here in Washington. The Expos, which now essentially is now the Nationals, came into play in Major League Baseball in 1969, a part of expansion. And 1994, just a devastating year for this franchise as they were headed to postseason play, and many believe that they had the best team in baseball, but wiped out this work stoppage. They left before 2005, and that is one of the great pictures I think that baseball can have coming out of Washington, D.C. Stan the Man shaking the hands there of JFK, and that's taken there by DeRosa. We'll talk more about that picture when we come back. Fifth inning rolls in when we return. You up to speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. And Mark DeRosa leads it off for the Cardinals. St. Louis with a 4-run lead. They've out-hit the Nationals 5-4. DeRosa tonight, little check swing RBI back in the first to score Skip Schumacher, and he's also flied out to right. Isn't that a great picture, though? That was JFK and Stan the Man, the 32nd All-Star game, which was held in Washington, and the history of that picture.
Yeah, that picture came about.
I know it wasn't professionally done. At least that's my understanding. Is that correct?
Well, you know, Stan and Stan the Man Inc. You know, if you send a personal item or you send something for Stan to sign, and some gentleman took that picture and sent it to Stan, and Dick Zimmermann and Stan Musial liked it so much they negotiated the negative, and now that picture can be sold to anyone. Stan the Man Inc. 314-965-3000.
965-3000 for that photo, JFK and Stan the Man. But you see in the picture, you've got National and American League, so you know it's the All-Star game. At bat number 24. I mean, it's just, there's so many parts of that picture that are so neat about the time and the era and the people that are in the picture as well.
JFK, and so I'm sure it wasn't RFK at that time, what the name of the stadium was, but eventually became RFK.
A 1 pitch, and Ludwig pops it up and out of play. I've talked to Larry Walker an awful lot about that 1994 team. He says they weren't too shabby.
No, they were, and a lot of people forget, but around that time they led the National League in attendance up in Montreal.
Ludwig, left center, and that drops in for a hit. Adam Dunn didn't seem to take the best of routes to get to that ball, and it drops in for a base hit.
Sometimes it's surprising, you know, because here was a pretty good football and player and quarterback, and yet he just doesn't seem quite mobile. And you know, I think if I'm the center fielder, Nigel Morgan, with great speed, and you know that Dunn doesn't have a history of being a very good defensive player, I definitely want to stay out of his way, but I think I've got to take charge.
There's that changeup to Ricky Ankiel and a swing and a miss. I love reminding Larry Walker about that 1994 team. He really enjoys it. He'll tell you all about the history of that 94 team. Ankiel is homered tonight. One ball, one strike. This right-hander, Ricky Ankiel, was the first man that he saw. 1-1 pitch. Down and in. Cardinals with a 4-run lead. Scored 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and 2 in the top of the fourth.
Rick got a fastball down that he hit for his 6th home run, and then it looked like the ball elevated to get thrown by him for a strikeout.
There's so many ifs right now. If Ankiel can get going, if they stay healthy, if they make a move or two at the trade deadline, what may happen in the final 2 months of this season for the Cardinals?
Well, Antonio's mindset is just going to be that, hey, we're good enough for what we have. behind closed doors, he might tell you, hey, I'd like a lot more, but he's not going to necessarily tell that to his players.
Ankiel, the swing and a miss, couldn't catch up on that high fastball. And that's a third strikeout for this righty. Here's Molina. Yadier Molina is 1 for 2 with a run scored. We mentioned that Julio Lugo is in uniform tonight and on the bench for the Cardinals. The way that Brendan Ryan has played defensively, it's just been tremendous. So Lugo gives the Cardinals a little insurance at both shortstop. He's played second base, even played third base. And I talked to him before the game, and you heard maybe some of those clips on the pregame show. He said with Tony La Russa, he expects maybe to even play a little bit of outfield too. So he's going to give them a little insurance at some of those spots.
And they know that Brendan Ryan, who they're extremely happy with, is just a young player that, is going to have to take a little breather here and there, and gives them a better option when Brendan needs a rest. They have what they feel is a better qualified player to fill the end for him, but Brendan is the everyday shortstop.
And let's face it too, Al, Tyler Green was up here defensively. Tony and his staff really like the way he plays defense, but he needs more seasoning, the minor leagues in particular, with the breaking ball than what he does at the plate.
Sure. And as I said earlier, Lugo has always been noted as an offensive infielder.
Hit out of play, 2 balls, 2 strikes. He's 33. He's swiped 20 bases or more in 5 different seasons. And as recently as 07, he had 33, but he did have minor knee surgery in April. So you wonder if he's just starting to get his legs back a little bit as we head towards the stretch. Now he is under contract through next season. The Cardinals are paying none of that as Boston picked up the remainder of that contract. 2-2 pitch.
Let's see. Finishing up a 4-year, $36 million contract. So basically $4.5 million more this year and $9 million for next season. The win-win situation for the Cardinals.
Ludwig now off with this pitch. 3-2 the count with 2 outs. Johnson playing behind the runner at first. There goes Ludwig. Slowly hit up the middle. Ludwig is safe at second, but Molina is out at first. Midway through 5, St. Louis leads it. In baseball history back in 1991, presented by Schnucks. By the way, that's Bob Carpenter on the right and Rob Dibble on the left. And just back from a 3-game suspension, Dibble is ejected for throwing at and hitting Cubs base runner Doug DeCenzo in an 8-5 Reds loss. Of course, he was part of the Nasty Boys. He and Randy Myers, and Rob Dibble was actually a co-NLCS MVP back in 1990 with Cincinnati, as they would win the pennant and then win the World Series over Tony La Russa's club.
And you're treading on very dangerous waters right now. Talking bad about Rob Dibble.
I'm just describing a little history. I'm not talking bad.
You know why I say that, don't you?
His tattoos.
No. His mother is Hungarian.
Oh, okay.
So it explains his behavior at
times.
times.
You told me something earlier about his tattoos through troubling times. So that's why I thought I was treading on thin ice.
No. First time, and it might have been.
Now you know where I'm coming from.
I know where you were coming from. Good change up there, but the first time, and it might have been the time right before he coming off that 3-game suspension, because he had a game against the Cardinals and gave up a base hit, and he flung the bat. The hitter is covering behind home plate and picked up the bat and threw it, and it missed going over the backstop by about a foot at Cincinnati, and so he might have gotten suspended for that one. And
well, he also threw a couple of balls in the seats
he
too.
threw in the stands, and he hit a school teacher in dead center field after blowing a save. But he had just told me that his mother was Hungarian, so when we were describing that action, I said it's quite understandable. His mother's Hungarian. And then I told him tonight I'm going to do an interview when they come coming to St. Louis, and we're going to talk about his tattoos because he has numerous, and I said, you're going to have to tell me about each and every one of them. And he said, you better have a lot of tape.
And your response was?
I could do a 3-day episode like Mike does.
Mike Shannon.
Like Mike Shannon
on our
pregame
shows. Okay.
Making a whole series of his tattoos. Some of them are very colorful and menacing. Some of them.
Well, remember Rob had a locker room brawl at one point too with Lou Piniella.
Yeah.
That tail's in there for a strike. And the 4th strikeout for Wainwright. There's a lefty getting loose in the pen for Jim Riggleman, so we'll see a pinch hitter here. There's Ron Malone.
Forget that he's with their club. They have 3 lefties. You know, when they got Nigel Morgan, they also got Sean Burnett. They're very happy with him. They say Joe Beimel might be on the move. A lot of clubs looking for another lefty. Anderson Hernandez is the pinch hitter.
2 innings, 3 hits for Clippard. 1 ball, 1 strike. Hernandez fouls it back.
You know, they also have on their bench is Ronnie Belliard.
That's right.
With short cropped hair.
I noticed that. And I remember talking with Tony La Russa a couple of weeks ago about the 06 World Series, and he said the play that always stands out for him, the play by Belliard in San Diego, that outstanding play that he made in the first series. What's on Tap is presented by Bud Light. Bud Light, the difference is drinkability. And we will be in Philadelphia tomorrow night, first of 3 against the Phils.
Oh, by the way, it's okay that Tony elected to send Wainwright back out there, isn't it?
Well, unless Pujols would have hit that grand slam. Cardinals and Phillies tomorrow at 5:30.
He might do that later, but we're going to give Wainwright the qualify through 5 innings for the victory first.
Understand there is rain coming again, and lots of it. There's lightning in the area. That has not stopped. There's a base hit into right field. Nigel Morgan, you might remember when he was with the Pirates, I had a chance to visit with him. He's a hockey player, and he's out of California, and then he went and played junior hockey, and one of his teammates, he said growing up, and a good friend, the Blues' Barrett Jackman. Those two played together junior hockey.
He's a heck of an athlete.
Sure is.
And right now, Guzman has had a tough time. He's 2 of Wainwright's 5 strikeouts.
And that's past DeRosa into right field. Morgan to second and easily into third. So back-to-back hits. 1 swing of the bat, and Washington right back in the game with Zimmermann coming out.
Show you something rare as you watch Nigel Morgan look there, but then he looks to his third base coach. Something novel in the game of baseball. He looked up Pat Listash and let the third base coach decide whether he should come over.
Washington Nationals have won 2 in a row and looking for their 4th 3-game winning streak. The Cardinals 7-2 over the last 2 years against the Nationals. And a ground ball slowly hit. Thurston cuts it off, gets Zimmermann by a step. We have played 5 in our nation's capital. 4-0 St. Louis. Four to nothing St. Louis as we move to the top of the 6th for all of you Cardinal fans headed to St. Louis for the next homestand. Make the most of your visit to the Gateway City. Visit ExploreSt.Louis.com. Find out about the new restaurants, museums, shops, festivals, and attractions St. Louis has to offer. You'll see why St. Louis all within reach. This is our Chevrolet call to the bullpen, and Ron Malone, who was with the Cardinals and now still in the major leagues. Really liked him when he was with St. Louis as far as how he was out the field, the way he conducted himself.
Real professional, has been around a long time, and you know he knows how to act as a pro both on and off the field, and just really at times didn't get enough left-handers out to suit the Cardinals, but you're glad to see him still around.
Way back when, he was a former first-round pick by Seattle.
And then one time he was, if memory serves me right, he was traded for Andy Bennis in exchange with
that's right,
the Padres. And you know, he still has a career high of strikeouts. When he started the game for Cincinnati against the Cardinals, I believe it was 12.
That was a complete game against St. Louis when he was a starter. 2 balls and no strikes. Thurston, Brendan Ryan, and Adam Wainwright for the Cardinals. Big gap in the right center field. Thurston is doubled tonight. That's up and in. Now this part of Brian Malone at times was infuriating against the lefties. 2 balls and 1 strike.
That's what I think. You know, it's just that at times we'd have a nice stretch against left-handers, but the consistency wasn't always there of retiring lefties in your lefty-lefty matchup. But he was still very capable of retiring right-handed batters.
1992, he was the 14th overall selection. 1992, who was number 1?
A male.
I don't know.
Bill Nevin out of Cal State Fullerton, Golden Spikes Award winner.
He had a pretty nice pro career too.
Yeah, and signed with the Houston Astros.
Three and 2 the count here on Joe Thurston.
And you think about Phil Nevin, you also think about how helpful he was to Flynn Kyle with the death of Darryl Kyle.
And swing and a miss. Sean Lowe, by the way, was the Cardinals pick that year. And a strikeout to start the 6th, and then it brings in Brendan Ryan. Brendan tonight intentionally walked back in the 4th. That loaded him up. And he's also flied out to center. Average at 275. Taking a look at the rest of the division tomorrow. Cincinnati at Chicago. The Mets and Houston will hook up, and Atlanta and Milwaukee. I guess depending on what happens at the trade deadline, you still can't figure that any team is going to get this thing together and just run away with it.
You wouldn't think so.
No.
And I wouldn't bet after the trade deadline that nobody's going to be a clear cut and run away with it. And that's the way it should be. I mean, it should have that parity and have a lot of fun in the throughout, you know, the baseball races.
Going away.
You know, Dan, it's no fun to have a 15, 16 game lead.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, Al. And I'd like to see one.
As long as it's the lead, right?
That's right. I don't want to be playing catch up. I enjoyed 04 and 05.
I know, but you know, the fans would be on their
the fans really enjoyed it too.
You know, they'll be on their edge of seats with the pennant race, and you know, you wouldn't have people come to the ballpark to be saving money for the postseason, and you know, then the players kind of lose a little bit. You know, they lose that drive and the push. That's why some of the wild card teams have been so successful.
I was about to say there is a point to be made, is that when you do get that big lead and you coast into postseason play, for the teams that are fighting and scratching and clawing to get in, there is an edge to their game in that final few weeks.
That's right. They kind of lose it, and then those wild card games, teams, you know, they just know that they got to win night after night. They don't know who the opponent is, find themselves in postseason play, and it's still the same mindset.
I'd still rather coast.
I know you would.
There's Morgan with his good speed and makes the catch. So 2 away here in the 6th. That was, of course, a shot from earlier today. Our trivia question: when was the last season the Cardinals had only 1 representative at the All-Star game? You see the duck with the Ducks. Our guys in the truck Very quick. We have the Aflac duck, and then there's that duck, and Matt Morris in 02 was the only representative. He was the only one.
Cardinal.
Only one back in 02.
Now, is Matt in Florida, or is he up in the Northwest someplace?
Let's see, Wyoming.
Or Big Sky, Montana. Huh?
That's it. Swing and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes here on Adam Wainwright. Wainwright came up with the bases loaded and popped out to the third baseman last time. He's also grounded out to third. You last this long in the major leagues, it's pretty impressive when you talk about Ron Malone.
Got to still have that fire in the belly. You're going to want it. It's almost every year you got to make a team.
And a swing and a miss. 2 strikeouts for Malone in the top of the 6th. Wainwright back to work. 4-0 St. Louis. Our Infinity game recap. Browns crew has been busy here at Nationals Park. That was during batting practice today. We've had a rain delay of 1 hour and 16 minutes. Joe Thurston with a double. RBI. Big day for Schumacher. A couple of doubles and a bases loaded walk. And on the mound, Wainwright has been doing his job. This season has gone forward. Wainwright just getting better and better.
Sure has. He's 17 consecutive starts. He's gone at least 6 innings.
Here's Adam Dunn. And Dunn cranks one into deep right field. Off the very top of the wall, scoots away from Ludwig. And Dunn will stop at second base. Almost a home run.
Adam Dunn 3 for 3 and misses his 25th home run by a foot or so. Swing of the bat a lot better, and Ludwig goes back, and then the carom gets by him. Probably wouldn't going to be a double anyway, even, but you want to challenge, try to get to third base.
Nick Johnson at least wants to move Dunn to third. Think Jim Riggleman is the right guy for this job?
Yes.
It's a tough one.
I like Jim Riggleman a lot, and I think he will, you know, with his background of running the Cardinals minor league system, you know, he's been at other stops. You know, it's going to be a challenge, but I think he realizes that because of where they're going to be drafting players, they have some good young nucleus. They can get some of they have some good young pitchers. That's why they're going to be so, you know, conservative with those pitchers and keep them healthy for when they are a better ball club.
2-0 pitch and a strike.
They don't try in Strasburg. You know, this year they have the first 2 picks in the draft next year. So you could get better quite quickly.
2-1 pitch. 2-2.
Starting to take the tarp off the Cardinals bullpen. Pitch count only 79, but an hour and 16-minute rain delay.
Up and away in a full count. Foul back. The crew has worked hard with us tonight, making sure that everything stays dry, and we appreciate their hard work. Rainy night here in Washington.
They have a lot of experience with rain. maybe had more rain delays than any other team in baseball.
3-2 pitch. And he got him. Johnson couldn't pull the trigger. And the strikeout is number 6 tonight for Wainwright.
Crew here says they've had 16 rain delays totaling 29 hours.
Good times.
And there you see the pitch. He gave up on it and tails back over the strike. So we do really want to appreciate our hard-working crew.
Josh Willingham, the hitter. Willingham has walked and he's also struck out. One out runner at second base. There's the curveball and a swing and a miss. That last pitch to Johnson, pretty nasty. Basically starting out at his knees and coming back over the plate.
Sure. And Adams facing probably the 2 hottest hitters in the lineup is Dunn. He's 3 for 3. The other is Willingham.
And with those lefties, it looks like it's going to hit him almost. And Adam works from the first base side of the rubber.
And you work on that side so you can get inside on the left-handed batter much easier. But you got that pitch that tails back to give up on it. And then it's important to have the cutter, you know, or a curveball that runs in on them, and that's what makes it effective. Why it looks just like the fastball that tails back, but the cutter's coming in. The fastball they give up on, and it tails back over the middle of the plate.
Lefties have hit 265 against him this year. Righties at 228. Outfield straightaway and pretty deep. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Willingham. With 1 out, a runner at second base. Curveball, see ya. 7 tonight for Adam Wainwright. That curveball has been really sharp at times tonight.
But it all starts with the fastball. You know, the fastball sets up all those pitches, and then they respect that fastball, and then you throw that Uncle Charlie out there. And it's a swing and miss, but a lot of times it's just the ones that they give up on, and the bottom falls out, and it's in the strike zone for a called strike.
Alberto Gonzalez fouls it back. We're in the bottom of the 6th. The Cardinals have the top of the order coming up in the 7th, and they lead it 4-0. Run in the 1st, run in the 2nd, 2 in the 4th. Ricky Ankiel is homer tonight. 0-1 pitch. Hit down the right field line. Slicing. And foul. And a nice play made by a fan.
It's a neutral shirt, so we can't give the out to Wainwright.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Just got a piece. The lefty continues to throw their bullpen.
That's Burnett.
Oh, 2 pitch again. Good block by Molina.
90 pitches, 59 are strikes for Adam. In the count against Gonzalez.
For Tony, after this inning, if he can get Gonzalez, do you try to squeeze out one more from Wainwright?
I think I'd say that's it.
Gonzalez into right field. Ludwig going back over his head. Washington gets on the board. Gonzalez picks up the RBI with a double, and it's 4-1.
We are at a very high vantage point here, but I think Ludwig will tell you he probably should have made this catch. Fastball up away, and Ludwig going back on it, reaches up and just over his outstretched glove. But I was thinking, you know, Ludwig, who's committed only one error on the season, I think he'll tell you that he should have made that play.
So Duncan out.
Trevor Miller start the throw in the Cardinal bullpen. Sean Burnett in the Nats bullpen.
How good has Trevor Miller been this year?
Very good.
91 pitches tonight for Adam Wainwright. RBI for Gonzalez is 17th. Washington on the board. It's 4-1. This would be an important game to win, considering how the last 3 nights have gone. Ronnie Belliard is on deck. The Cardinals very easily could have won that first game. They got no run support. That first game in Houston against Moeller, game 2, a different story. Last night should have won. So
and then to have Albert sit out a game, it's important for him to get his rest and still be able to win. Quite frankly, the Cardinals, a first place club, can't defeat the Nationals, the worst record in baseball, without Albert. They're not as good as we think they are. I know any given day, a pitcher can have a dominant performance, but we're banking it's going to be the Cardinals starter.
2-0. 2 outs and runner at second base. Josh Bard tonight with a single, and he's also struck out. Wainwright has struck out 7 tonight, and he's allowed 8 base hits. The Nationals have actually out-hit the Cardinals 8-6. Wainwright hustling to make sure that stays fair, and he tags out Bard for the out. RBI double with 2 outs by Gonzalez. Then the Cardinals have the top of the order coming up.
The Pontiac
St. Louis Cardinals, the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, and Fox Sports Midwest have joined together to encourage young people not to smoke, because once you start, it's hard to stop. Strike out tobacco so we can all breathe easier. Call the Missouri Tobacco Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Top of the lineup for St. Louis, Skip Schumacher. Big night. Couple of doubles. Bases loaded walk and a run scored. Against the lefty, he chops one to second. 1 pitch, 1 away. Of course, Baltimore had a real issue with Washington coming into this area and having a Major League Baseball team, since we're very close to the Baltimore area. Peter Angelos didn't want to see it happen, and we have not been to Camden Yards yet.
And there's one other team that has not been to Camden Yards and in our division, Cincinnati. And speaking of quite close, so is the Lightning.
Lightning has been in the area, but as you mentioned, it seems like a lot closer here the last couple of minutes.
And just starting to see a few more drops come down.
The Thunder is around, and we took a peek at the radar just moments ago, and here it comes.
Watching people head to the subway, and it's not long before this game is going to have another stoppage of play.
A count of 1 ball and 2 strikes on Colby Rasmus.
There he goes.
That's it. So another stoppage with 1 out here in the 7th inning. The Cardinals leading by the score of 4-1. Browns crew better hurry. We got a lot of rain coming our way.
Does it have to rain on a rain out?
Gila Tech rain delay. Feel your home with Gila Tech. It's 4-1 St. Louis.
Gone. Solo home run, his 6th, but his first since June 19th. Cards win it 4-1 in a game that was called in the 7th inning because of rain. The Cards snap a 3-game losing streak.